So I am not by far the person who is the best at silhouette, but I can do what I know how to do. So if I go here, I email myself this picture, and it's going to ultimately go onto a mug. I'm going to make a decal. So you click on this, and on mine, this is Yahoo, it sends the picture over here. So I'm just going to right click and copy the image. Could probably copy it from here. I don't know what will happen, but when I click the picture, it goes over here, and it works fine for me. And then I'm going to open up my silhouette. I have a silhouette Cameo 4, and I'm just going to paste the picture there. Okay, so it's, you can make it bigger, you can make it smaller, or whatever, you can move it around. But technically, you don't want to print like this, because if you do, it's going to print a white background and a big white decal. I just want the black. So I'm going to make it bigger just so you can see what I'm doing. Alright, so it's the same image as you can see. Over here to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4, the fifth icon down, it kind of looks like a piece of bread. I'm going to click that. It says open the trace panel. And then you have 3 choices. Another looks like a piece of bread, an eyedropper, and a magnet. I'm going to click the eyedropper. And then right below that, click trace by color. And what that's going to do is it's going to create a little pencil. If you see it swirling around on my screen, I'm going to land that on the color black, because the whole emblem is black, or the whole decal is black. And it's going to pick up the color black. You can put it on top of any color, and it will pick up that particular color for any picture. But this whole thing is black and white, so I'm just going to do black. And then I'm going to go over here, click all areas. So that means it's going to touch on everything that's black on the picture. And you can see it's kind of black and yellow. If I cut it like this, it's going to end up making little black holes everywhere. And I want one solid color. So I'm going to take the tolerance and I'm going to change it and make everything really a good crisp yellow. That way it's a solid cut. And then I'm going to click this trace. And when I click trace, give it a few, and it's going to trace all of that black that I just outlined, or whatever you want to call it. And so now it's finished. And so when I move it, hold on, when I move the top, stop blinking. As you can see, the original right here that I'm moving, I'm going to move it out the way, and it leaves the outline trace. So I can just go ahead and click on this one and delete it. And that just left the traced picture. See that? So I can cut that out. I'm going to make it smaller now so it can be on my whole screen. Alright, so if I click on it, it says it's 8.210 inches that way by 7.743 inches that way. I'm actually going to put it on a mug. And then I'm going to take my ruler, and I want to measure the actual space that I want this to take. So it's going to take 3 inches that way, and I'm going to leave space down here for the person's name, so about 2 3/4 inches high. So I'm going to make this that size. So I'm just going to make it short until it looks really small on my screen here, but these numbers are still counting. So I said 3 inches wide, which is right about there. And I said about 2 1/4 inches tall. So that's 2.75 tall. There. Now I'm going to zoom in and scroll. And as you can see, that is the size. It looks huge here, but these numbers again are counting the actual inches. So that's going to be 3 inches across here from the largest points, and 2.75, well, 2.7, it says 7.9, but you know, micro inch, that height. All right, so that is what I'm going to be printing, and all of these lines you see will print in black, and that's going to outline the flowers and the hands. So I'm going to cut those out. So What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a cutting board. This is a cutting board that you get for your silhouette. It's by the inch. It's sticky, and it's a 12 by 12. And then I'm going to get a piece of black vinyl. I typically like to use Oracle 651 permanent vinyl. You can go to Michael's or anywhere, or you can order it online, but it pretty much is a sheet of paper. And on the back, it actually literally says Oracle 651 permanent. And I'm going to line it up on my, as you can see, I already cut a piece off, so I'm going to line it up on my board so it fits inside of the frame of the 12 by 12. And I've already used 3 in some little piece of 3, like maybe 3.25 inches of it. But as you can see, it's sticky, and I want it to be even because I want to reuse my board, my vinyl, as much as I can. And you just want to lay it down smooth. Thank goodness for the back button. And I'm going to put it so that it is around 4 inches in. That way I am missing that space that I already used on my vinyl, and it'll start cutting right next to it. So it's there. I'm going to feed this into my silhouette. And then I'm going to send it to cut. On your silhouette, you want to select the cut that you've chosen for those. They're preset, but sometimes they're not accurate if they're preset. I have played around with it and have found that my Oracle set is better at 2 here, 14/4, 5 speed, 2 passes. Hey, don't, if it works, it works. And then I'm just going to send it to print. And I'm going to send it as is. You can send it mirrored if you want the hands to go that way, or you can send it as is if you if you're okay with the way the print is going. Okay, so that's going to cut. While it's cutting, I'm going to move on to design the person's name. Now over here on the left side, there's a letter A. Now, of course, if you have already pre-purchased fonts, you can use the fonts you pre-purchased to write their name, or you can create a font. So if you do a letter A, and over here on the right, it'll open up all the different font styles. You're going to click on a font, and it'll put you a little line there, and you can type in the person's name. Of course, you'll use the name of the person. I highlight that, and usually I'll go over here and just hit the down button until I see a font that I actually really think is cute for what I'm doing. So that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is, of course, go to your library if you have anything saved, and you can go to your fonts that you have saved, and you can pull from here. So I could like pull the letter P, take it over onto the thing and put it there, pull the letter E, put it next to it, N if I'm spelling Penelope, so on and so forth. And it'll cut out the way this looks. But I'm going to create the font myself. So the person whose name I'm going to create is what I'm going to put in here. Of course, I don't know whose name I'm putting in here because I forgot. I'm going to just pull it up really quickly. Name is Mrs. Nelson. So, Mrs. Nelson. Alright, so let me see. She said it's her mother. She's giving it to her for Mother's Day. And her mom is a churchy lady, she said. So I'm going to try to do something that's just cute, that seems to fit that description. That looks cute. Mrs. Nelson. Yes, I want to pick a font that has some girth to it, because if you print it, if you're going to bling it, you need space to put the bling. And you don't want something that cuts like little lines, skinny lines, because then of course you won't have room. Mrs. Nelson. It's to the point. Let's use this one. So I'm going to blow it up. So if you can see it, it says Mrs. Nelson here. Now, there's a lot of extra space around the border. So I'm just so that I can get an accurate measure, I'm going to click weld. Weld is just going to kind of bring the line around to where it actually measures out to be. So now it says 0.878 high and 6.458 inches wide. All right, so that's really wide. As you remember, my picture is only 3 inches wide, so I definitely don't want to go way wider than the floral design. So I'm going to zoom it in, see what it looks like at 3.5. Okay, so that's 3.5, and it's not quite an inch high. And I can go ahead and group it. Grouping just means that I can't move each of these letters individually. The way it is now, I can move any of these, space it out a little bit more. But once I'm finished with it, I can group it together. And now that is the actual cut. It still looks a little thin to me. Not sure if I'm going to have enough space to actually have space to bling. So I'm going to make this just a little bit wider. I'm going to outline it. So up here, there's a star with an outline. I already have it clicked on there, so it's framed. I'm just going to click this so that I can offset it. And I want to do not the internal offset, but the external offset. And I usually bring it down to 0.25 wide and click apply. Uh-oh. That's really wide. I don't know what happened, so I'm going to back that out. You can see you can see the big old outline that happened. I don't want it to be that big. So I'm going to do it again. 0.25. There you go. And so what'll happen is I'll move the skinnier version out of it, and now I have a bigger Mrs. Nelson, something I'll actually be able to bling. So I'm going to cut that out. Now, if you remember, I had a space already cut out of my all right, so this, I'm going to group this again because it didn't turn back to weld. So I'm going to group it back so I can move it all at one time. I had a space already pre-cut from my vinyl, and that went down about 4 inches. So I'm going to move this down just below the 4 line, and I'm going to send it to cut because it's still sitting in the cutter. Send, and go. So it's going to pull it back in, and it's going to cut Mrs. Nelson out for me. And I'm going to go back to the design page. So now I'm going to have this design. Oops, no, that's my font. I can close that out. I'm going to have this design and this name. So I'm going to copy this just so you can see what it should look like when I place it on the mug. So if you can see that, that is what it's going to look like on the mug. So she gave me colors that her mother likes. Her mother likes the color red, blue, and green, and black. She wants her name to be written in black. I'm going to make these little sprigs in green. I'm probably going to make this rose red and these two blues, these two flowers on the side blue, and just outline the hands in black so you can see them clearly defined, and put some fingernail polish on her. So my cut is done. I'm going to peel it off of my sheet, off my sticky sheet. And I don't know if you can see it, but it's etched in there, the design. So I'm going to cut that out with some scissors. So I just cut that out. This is the flower, and Mrs. Nelson is right below it. And I'll save this for another day. So, I don't know if you can see the etching on this, but this is the one that says Mrs. Nelson. You want to kind of roll it just a little bit. You don't want to put a bend in it, but you want to roll it just so it can loosen up your weeding that you're going to have to do. Same thing for the hand. Just loosen it up from the part that you're going to take off. I'm going to move my... Now I'm going to get my weeding tool. That's this. It looks like a little fish hook. But basically what it does is it grabs onto the paper. Usually you would do this flat, but I'm trying to show you. It grabs on. You want to get your needle between the sticky part and the white part. See that? And peel it. And when you peel it, it should pretty much peel away from the cutout. It might pull some of your stuff, so make sure you're paying attention because you don't want to pull up the name or what you're going to use, but as you can see, it's pulling out. And if you have your settings just right, it makes it really easy to weed. All right, turn it upside right so you can read it. Mrs. Nelson. Got some more weeding to do, so over here, gotta get this part off. And in the E, take the middle out. It's stuck to the other side. And there's the E. And then the O. Now I usually lay this flat on my desk to do because I'm showing you I'm doing it this way. But anyway, as you can see, there's the name. Okay, so I'm almost finished weeding this. I still have a little bit more to go, as you can see at the bottom. Yeah, I'm telling you now, if I could just buy the decals for $3 from people who sell them, I am that person who would rather buy them and just stick them on. But in this case, she wanted this one and I couldn't find it, so I'm trying to position my phone so you can watch me finish weeding. Alright, so like I said, I've already finished weeding most of it. Weeding is just basically when you take your picker tool and you pick out the pieces. And this is a little piece of excess that came off of the Mrs. Nelson, and it kind of just catches it for you. But all this little pulling off these little pieces is definitely not my favorite thing to do. So I'm probably going to just stop talking and go on to hyperspeed now because it's going to take a while to finish. So this is the weeded picture. Now, with all this little excess pieces away, use it to pick up all little pieces, clean off your point. And, oop, oh, it's trash anyway. All right. So this is transfer paper. It's almost like a piece of tape. Big old piece of tape. but it's not as strong as tape, so it's not gonna tear anything. But basically, you know, cut a sheet big enough for the picture that you're doing, and you're basically just gonna lay it on top of it and rub it. Now you want to use something, it could be a credit card. I'm going to use my the edge of my shaker tool. You just want to make sure you get all the little pieces stuck to the paper. And I'm going to peel this up from the desk, but not off the picture yet. With transfer paper, pretty much, if you can see that, it just picks up the image for you. And then you lay it on top of what you're sticking it to, and it sticks to it. Some people use painter's tape. I think that's a little bit too strong. Especially if you had to pre-paint whatever you're going to blend, because it'll peel up your paint. Sometimes this will too, but it's not that strong. But this is going to help. Doing this is going to help get all the excess bubbles out of it before you stick it to where you're sticking it. And it's just going to make sure you have the image. Now, if you buy a decal, you buy it pretty much just like this. Someone buys it, they cut all the edge of this off, and then they sell it to you. And then when you get it, all you have to do is peel it and stick it to what you're sticking it to. Or you can make them, like I do sometimes. But I tell you, I'm not a big fan of weeding, so I prefer to buy. Alright, so we're back. So you want to take some acetone, because you want to clean the surface of whatever you're going to stick this to. This is permanent vinyl, so it's going to stay there forever. Of course, forever is subjective. As long as your customer knows not to let it soak in water. But because it's going to be bling on top of it, you definitely want them to have some care instructions. So I'm just going to take some acetone. Now with a mug, I'm doing this as a mug. If the person is left-handed, you might want to put the design on the outer side. If the person is right-handed, put it on the outer side. Unless they want to just look at it every time they're about to go drink. But most people want their design to catch the attention of whoever's looking. So this person is right-handed. So I'm going to clean this side. And acetone is pretty much going to strip off any oil. And I should be using latex gloves. But I'm not going to touch the surface again. And I'm doing this long enough that I'm not going to mess up my nails, because they cost too much to get done. I'm very careful, as you can see. And so it's clean. Throw that away. Now, what I'm going to do is peel this off and stick it to the mug. So I'm going to show you. Stay there. Okay. So this is the side I'm going to put it on. So I'm going to lay the mug down, face the way I need it to face. And then I'm going to peel this off. And I usually go by eye. I try to make sure that the mug is straight. And leave enough room at the bottom for the hand. Kind of curve it this way once you get it where you want it to be. And then slowly roll it down onto the surface. And then rub it with your hand over top of it really good, because you want it to get a good stick onto the surface. Now, because this is such an intricate little design, I'm probably going to use 3 SS 10 3mm stones to decorate it. And then you just peel it up. Now peel it slowly because you don't want it to peel away what you just laid down, but if you rubbed it good enough, it should stick. And you just peel it. And this paper is reusable. So I usually just stick it right back to my roll. And so there's the design. And then I'm going to lay it down again because I'm going to put her name underneath of the design. So here's Mrs. Nelson. Peel it off. And by eye again, you just want to make sure it's right where you would want it to be, because once you put it there, it's there. And then kind of fold it in a little bit and roll it down. And rub it. And again, peel. The M is coming up in the R and the S. So I'm going to rub it some more. Stick my paper tape back onto the roll. Put that off to the side. And as you can see, Mrs. Nelson will be fancy when she drinks her coffee. Now this is before I bling. Of course, I'm going to go back and bling it. I'm not going to touch it because I don't want to put my oils on it. But I'm going to bling out these flowers and I'm going to bling out her name. That'll be a separate video. Or if you want somebody who just wants to leave it like that, you can just leave it like that. It'll stay. Miss Nelson will be fancy. Thanks for watching.